The Sunday school lesson for July 27, 2025 is Be Doers of the Word. James chapter 1, verses 19 through 27. Welcome, viewers and subscribers, to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school lesson, you are at the right place because I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary. The backstory takes us to James chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. James, the half brother of Jesus, was a leader of the early church in Jerusalem. This letter is addressed to the Jewish Christians in the early church, and it is addressed to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations. In this chapter 1, he talks about the trials and temptations. He goes on to tell us that trials are things, event, or circumstances that test our strength of character. James, like Jesus, advised believers to meet them with joy. In doing so, faith produces perseverance. We keep on thinking straight, speaking truthfully, and doing right. As a result, we become mature and complete in Christian character. We can fall into the habit of blaming someone else, even God, for our problems. It takes more than human wisdom to understand a situation that causes pain. So a person who single-mindedly follows God will ask him for understanding. The rich and powerful sect of the Sadducees persecuted believers in the Jerusalem church. James reminded believers that true riches and power come from God, not wealth or position. We want a pain-free life now. God wants us to have maturity and an eternal reward. Therefore, we may blame God when we struggle, but God does not entice us to sin. In fact, He supplies ways to avoid it and grow through it. It is our own evil desire that gives birth to sin, which will be fatal if left unchecked. God does not want us to fail, but to overcome and be a kind of first fruits of all He created, a taste of heaven on earth. The lights we see above are dimmed by clouds, but the Father of them all is forever changeless, always giving perfect gifts. The backstory ends here, and our lesson begins with the next slide. Verses 19 through 21. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore, lay apart all filthiness and all superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. Verses 22 through 24. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man holding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. Verses 25 through 26. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridle not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Verse 27. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. A brief summary. By using the word filth, James pictures people covered in something disgustingly smelly that they need to wash off. With the phrase evil that is so prevalent, the picture switches to that of overgrown weeds that need to be cut back so that righteousness can flourish. There is a big difference between merely hearing and really listening. Poor listening decreases our ability to perform well. To illustrate, James noted that something would be terribly wrong if one were to look in a mirror and not recognize his own face. If he does not believe the face in the mirror is his own, flaws will go ungroomed. The mirror analogy applies to the issue of a believer's behavior. God's law is like a mirror. It is a shockingly honest reminder that we do not fully reflect God's image in our behavior. The law here is described as perfect and as giving freedom. When God plants the word of truth in believers, it provides liberty by changing us so we can live out God's desires. But if we claim that God can use His word to change us, people should be able to see the change. When we fail to control our speech, we exhibit to the world that Christianity has no power to change people for the better. Not only should a valid religion affect our speech, it should bring about observable improvements in our circle of influence. James argued that when God changes us, we will be motivated to change the lot of society's weakest and most vulnerable citizens. Thank you for listening, and join me soon for the next backstory and more. Stay safe and may God bless.